Hello my gorgeous friends on the internet, how you are doing? Okay, welcome to this part of the video. So today we are going to be looking at how to upload our wallpaper to Firebase. So what we are going to be learning today is how to pick images from your device. Okay, so we'll be using the file picker package. So I've already added the file picker dependency in our prospect.yml file, which is this, which we'll be using to pick documents. But in this our case, we are only going to be picking images, okay, from the user's device. And then once we pick it, we're going to display it within the app and then upload that the image as a file to cloud storage, which is Firebase storage. Then once we upload it there, we are going to get the download URL, and then from the download URL, we'll now send it to Cloud Firestore as our database where we're going to be storing our file. Okay, so this Firebase storage is used to store files. So we use it to store the image, then get the download URL as a string, and then add it to Cloud Firestore. So that's what we're going to be doing in this video. And so if you go to this page, which is the upload, which is where we're going to be working on, so you can see you can actually enter price, okay, and this price is actually optional, okay. So and then you can click on upload to upload the document, but currently if we click on this button, nothing is happening, right? So to actually pick image, this button is supposed to pick image from the user's device. So what we are going to be doing now is to see how to implement that functionality and then upload the image to Firebase. I know this video might be long a little bit, but we're just going to try our best to cover everything possibly with this video. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is to first of all create a. I normally go to my util class. Remember, I already added file picker. So you go to your util class and create a simple file. So we'll call it pick file dot dat. So this file will be responsible for picking the files from the user's device. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is to import. Okay, I think my hand is not correctly positioned on the keyboard. Okay, so the first we want to do, I don't think this is necessary. We want to import the file picker, but I think it's that one can actually come on its own. That means, so first thing we want to do is to create a future, and with the name pick image. The future now is going to return a string, which is actually the part of the file that we just picked. Okay, and it's going to be an asynchronous function because the file picker results, which is the data type of the class, is actually it uses a platform channel. Okay, that means it connects with native API. So and native API stuff actually works like it works asynchronously, so we definitely need to use a sync and a wait keyboard to actually make it work without any glitches. So first thing we want to do is to implement filepicker.platform and .pick files. Okay, so yeah, .pick files. Okay, so this pick files has a lot of parameters which you can work with. So the first one we are going to be working in is to set the type. So the type is going to be file type dot image. They actually have so many file types. If you want to pick audio, if you want to pick media or videos, whichever one you want to pick, but in this case we want to pick only images. But if you also want to pick only let's say if you only want to pick I think if you want to pick I don't know how to add a custom. Okay, if you want to pick only, let's say, a PNG file, so what you can do in this case is just to say allow extension. Yeah, something like allowed extension is like a list, so you can actually say, okay, I only need PNG file. Okay, so PNG file is only going to be picked. If you say JPEG, you're only going to pick JPEG. If you say you want to pick PDF, you're only going to pick PDF. But in this case, we just want to pick all the images. Okay, so I'll use type and then say file type dot image. Okay, like so, and then we are going to allow multiple. Do you want to allow multiple? In our case, we don't want to allow multiple selection, so I'll just set it to false. And then the allow compression, or I don't want the wallpaper images to be compressed, but in your case you might want to compress it. Okay, depending on, I don't know, depending on your preference. But in this case I don't want to, okay, compress it, so I'm just going to leave it like that. So what we're going to do now is to check if actually the result was actually picked. That means if any image was picked. So we say if the result is not equal to null. So what this means is that the user already selected an image. Okay, so what we're going to do now is to get the files. Okay, result. This method I'm actually using is more like to pick a single result, the files. But just know that if you want to pick multiple, you're not going to use this method, because this method is only for picking single images. Okay. Then once we get the files, we can now return it. Remember, this stuff is actually a string. Okay. So what we can do in this case now is to, yeah, returning a string. I'll need to put this non-nullable stuff. Then if the user didn't pick anything, what you can just do is just to return an empty string, and that's it. So this is actually the method that is going to be handling picking of single files. You can actually create another one here that will be picking multiple files or document and stuff like that. Okay. So now let's go back to our add wallpaper page, which is this page. And as you can see, this is the button that is actually handling the picking. So let me just print out something so that we can actually see that it's actually the button that is handling that. Okay. So if I save this up now, and yep, click on this button, you should see the print statement, which is IAMG. Okay. And that is it. So what we are going to be doing here, simple, very simple. We're just going to call the method to pick the file. Okay, pick image, which is this pick file stuff I created. Then I will say, remember, it's a future function, so we use .then to actually await the response. Then once the response is returned, we can just set it. We are going to create a variable which is image. Okay, then we can set it to the image. Okay, so if the user did not pick any image, this image is going to be a string. So I'm just going to come over here and then create a string and call this one image. Okay, like so. Alright, so the image is actually going to be empty string. That means if it's empty string, that means the user have not selected anything. Then once you click, it's going to pick. So let me just save this up and just see what will happen now. I think that is it actually. So what we can do now is just to try to click on the button. So you click on this button now, it's going to bring out a dialog. In your case, it might show you maybe to more like select this thing, like it just asks us to select, give permission, okay, to view. So this is just the image. We can actually, let's say, okay, just select one image, and it has been selected. But for now, you can see the full part of the image. It has been selected, but normally we are supposed to see the preview of the images, right? So what we can do in this case now, I'm just going to create a simple if statement here. So I will say if the image is not equal to an empty string, that means the user have selected something. So what I just need to do is just to return image.file to actually show the preview of the image. Then I will say file, and I can have the image right here. Okay, like so. So that would do. So if I save it now, you should see the image because you have already selected it before, so the image should display here. Okay, so you can actually select another image if you want. Okay, I think this is mine. Okay, so you can actually select another image. I think most of you have seen my face today. Okay, so you can actually select another image if you want, and this is just cool. So okay, so let's go over to the next part, which is like uploading this particular image to so we're going to create the logic to actually add the wallpaper image, okay, to save it to Firebase. Remember, I said the first thing we need to do is to upload this image first to Firebase, and then also upload it to Cloud Firestore. So the first thing you want to do to make sure that you have permission to push to this page, so you can go to your web browser and go to your storage. So this storage, you need to create the database first. By default, I think it's already created. So what you want to do is to go to rules. So you're going to secure the rules for only authenticated users. So what I'm going to do, I will change this false now to true, so that we can actually make the request to save the data. Okay, so save it to true. Okay, that's if the user is already authenticated. And once you do that, you also go back to Firestore database. Okay, then also there should be, if you have not created one, there should be a button that you just click to create the database, just a straightforward stuff. Then you also go to rules and then set these rules also to true, like so, and then you publish. Okay, so as soon as you do that, now we are going to go back. I think we are done with this part. So as soon as you do that, you're going to go back to your project. So we're going to be creating I'm not going to copy most of this code, so I just want to write everything for us to actually understand it. So that's why I say it's going to be long, because I want to take my time to write down everything, code them one after the other, okay, for proper understanding. So we're going to have a provider. So this one we call wallpaper provider class dot. Okay, so inside here now, what we're going to be doing is just to create us a class that we handle uploading the files and also uploading it to Firebase. So the first thing we want to do is to have upload wallpaper, okay, provider extends change notifier. So since we are using state management, which is a provider, then we also need to create a getter and a setter, and also we're also going to create instances for we're going to create instances for what's it called, Firebase Firestore, and also the Firebase storage as well. Okay, so this is explained. This is actually clean. So we have the first response image. Okay, if you watch my previous playlist, you know that I actually created. I like creating getters and setters like this. So this boolean is actually going to know if the stuff is actually loading or not, and this is the setter for the response message, and this are the getters. Okay, then I actually have this reset message to actually clear the message whenever I call it, to clear the response to an empty string. So this one now is the instance of the Firebase storage, where we are going to be storing the files as a string. That is the price that the user entered, and also the image part. Then this one is where we're going to. This is Firebase storage instance, and where we are going to be saving the user's file. Okay, that's it for that part. So we're going to create another method. I'll call this one add wallpaper. So this is just a simple function, and it's going to take let's say a build contest. I don't really know if we actually use this build contest or if it's necessary. So in this case, I don't think we are actually going to go with build contest. Okay, I normally use build contest in case I want to navigate to another page via this function, but in this case we are just going to omit that part. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to create a constant constructor, sorry, a named constructor, and it's going to be an async function like so. And this side here, and I'm going to create let's say a file, and I'll call this one wallpaper. Okay, let me just call it, yeah, wallpaper image. And I'm also going to create a string that's going to take the user ID, that the UID of the user that we want to save, and then I'm also going to have a string of price. Remember, this price is optional. Okay, so we can decide not to we just save it as an empty string if it was not provided. Okay, so I think I'm not confusing anybody, so I'm just trying my best to explain this as much as I can, and also as fast as I can as well. So here now we're going to create the collection reference. Okay, but the first thing we need to do, once we call this function, we need to set the status to true. That means it's actually loading, so then we notify listener here. Okay, then here now I'm going to create a collection reference. So this collection reference is more like where we are going to store the products. Okay, yeah, where we're going to store the products, like inside Firebase. I'm trying to create my collection now. Where we're going to store. Don't worry, once I create it, you're going to see those. This is like the all wallpaper. Okay, all wallpaper, right? So the next thing we're going to do now is to actually have like wrapping the stuff inside try and catch. Okay, for easy in case error might occur and stuff like that. So then on catch, easy on catch, easy on catch, I will catch. Okay, catch. So inside this catch now, we're just going to return more like a response message, like try again, but first we need to print the message out to be sure of what is happening. But before we do that, I like not just that, let's do it this way. Okay, I'm just gonna sorry for this. So see what is happening here now. So we need to actually know I created 3 exceptions to handle. One is Firebase exception, so we need to know the error that occurred via Firebase, and the other one is socket exception in case there is no internet connection, and then we have catch in case it's unknown from Firebase and socket exception. Okay, so we're just going to return it from here. So inside this try now, that's where we're going to perform most of the functions that are going to be saved to the Firebase. Okay, so the first thing we want to do, once the user starts, okay, calling this function, we want to set this stuff to, because we're going to upload image first, so we want to change the image, the response message to uploading image, to tell the user that hey, something is uploading, please wait. Okay, then the next thing I want to do now is to upload the file, okay, the image, which is this wallpaper image, which is like a file, to cloud Firebase storage. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use await. Okay, remember I've already created the instance of the Cloud Firestore, which is this. So this instance is actually, how can I locate my browser? Okay, let me open on my browser. So if you go, this one is Cloud Firestore, which is a different instance. So I'm actually creating an instance of storage. Of course, first we need to store the image inside storage, and once we store it, then we can now get the URL and then store it inside Firebase database. Okay, all right. So I don't know about real-time database. I only used real-time database when I was working with native platform, but when I dive into Flutter, I saw it as something too complicated. I don't know, but that's it for me. And so await now, I'm going to call the storage, which is this. Okay, you can see this one is Firestore, this one is storage. So I will call the instance here. Okay, so I will say storage, yes, something like that. No, storage. Okay, storage.ref. Okay, and then we can say .child. So inside this child is where we're going to specify the part where we want to store the image to. So I want to use the user ID to actually make it unique so that other users cannot actually access it. So I'll use, user ID are always unique. So I'll be using the user ID. Then this will be /wallpaper, like so. And then I'm going to use the part, which is the name of the image we are trying to upload, as the part. Okay, I think that way will be better. Or I can create a random number, random digits. I don't think that will be necessary, but what I can do is just to get the name of the image, which is this image, which is a file. So I'll just get the name here. Okay, image name, like so. So I'll just have something like let's say wallpaper. This is a file, remember, wallpaper image dot part. Okay, then I can split it to a list. So let me split it. Remember the part normally has more like line. Let me see if I can get that. You can see the parts actually have backward slash backward slash backward slash. So I'm going to split it by that backward slash and then get the last one, which is this link, this name, the name of the image, the last. That's what I'm actually trying to achieve here. So I say dot last. So if you print this stuff out now, what is actually going to print from the image is actually the name of the image. Okay, yeah, that's it. So what we're going to do now is just to append it here on the image name, like so. Yep, that would do. And then once we get that, you can say dot put file. So we're going to put the file now, and the file now is going to be the wallpaper. Remember, this takes a file, and we already our wallpaper is already a file. But if it's a string, then we can just use file, and then just convert it to file. But in this case, it's already a file, so we're going to say wallpaper image. And then how do we get the image URL when it has been uploaded? What I normally do is to use dot when complete. So we're going to wait for it when it's completed. So once it's completed, also try to wrap this stuff with a sync, because we're also going to use a sync there. So once it's complete, okay, what did I do? Alright, so once it's completed, what I do is to also await this again and still going through the storage again. And I will now say dot ref, okay, like so, and then dot child again. And then from that child, I'm also going to pass the same parts, okay, where the image was stored, okay. This is one reason I don't like using random number, because random digits might change and you might not get the correct part. So I just use a name that I know is constant for that particular operation at that moment. Then what I can do now is to call get download URL. Okay, this is going to get the URL for us. And once we get the URL, I can say dot then once it's completed. Like once we get it, then you can just print out the value. So just know that this is actually the download URL. But in this case, it's not a nice practice, so we need to actually create a variable that will get the download URL. So what I will do, I will go over here now over this try catch. Okay, I will create a string of image parts that we are going to get, which is the download URL part. Okay. Alright, so if you want to upload list to, I think you can just use for loop for I in the image length, then you add it, then you create image part here as well that is going to like a list that you will not be adding it. Okay, so that would also do. So in this case now, instead of printing this stuff out, we are just going to assign the image part to the value. Okay. Alright, so I don't want to look at the length of this video, but I know it's getting long, but let's just try to round up things. So this one now we actually upload the image to the Firebase storage. Okay, so once we upload it and get the download URL, we're going to assign it to this variable here, which is the image part. Okay, and then once we upload it to the get it to the image part, we need to then save it to cloud storage. Okay, but before we create it to add it to cloud storage, we need to actually get our payload ready. So what I normally do, I'll get something like a data. Like if you're adding data to Firebase, you should know this already. So you need to define the type of data you want to add. Let's say if you're creating a profile page now, you should have the first name, the last name, the image of the user, any other thing, the age, date of birth, and stuff like that. So you need to have the payload. But in this our case, let's just take this wallpaper image as the profile picture of the user. So we have already gotten the profile picture now. Then other additional feed, in this case we have enterprise. You can actually create for first name and stuff like that. So the price, we already passed it here, so I'm going to just add it like so. And then the UID, I also want to pass the UID of the user, which is the user ID, to actually use for identification. And then the wallpaper image, in your case you can say profile image if you want, but for this now I'll just say wallpaper image. Okay, then I will call the image part. So I'm not saving the image part, which is actually the download URL we just got. Okay, then once I do that, I'm going to save now to cloud storage. Okay, just say save to database. Okay, so we are going to be using, we have already created the reference, this collection reference that is actually getting this collection from Firestore. Okay, so we're going to say products dot add. Okay, so that product dot add is going to add it for us. So what we need to do in this case now is actually going to be more like await. We are going to await for it because it's still asynchronous as well. It's something we're doing over the internet. So I'll say products dot add, then add our data. So once it has been added, what I can do, okay, save database. Did I just skip this comment and put it down here? Okay, so once we get that, now what I can do now is now I'm going to set the status now, because everything has been added already. So I will set the status to false to notify every listener that nothing is happening again. Then I can actually have a message and I will say successful, something like that. Okay, I think I don't know how to spell anymore. So we can have a notify listener, and that is it. So you can see how simple this is. First thing we did was to create a getter and a setter, the collection reference, okay, and also the class storage reference as well. Then I created a reset button. This is optional, but in your case I would advise you do it. Then add wallpaper. There you can see I took the parameters I want to add. In your case you can create first name, last name, or whatsoever. Then we set status to true, which is like, okay, something is loading. Then we'll tell the UI to wait. Then this is the collection reference where we're going to save all the wallpapers. In your case you can see you can say users profile, okay, stuff like that. And you want to make, if you want to make it more unique, you can say users profile dot doc. Okay, so use user ID now to separate everything. Okay, then you can now have something like a collection again, and you can say users, yeah, something like this. Okay, so doing it this way now, you can only access it with any user that have this user ID. So any user that does not have this user ID cannot access it. But the reason why I didn't use this doc is because this wallpaper is going to be accessed by everybody. Okay, that was why I did it like this. Okay, so I'm just trying to give you guys some hint of how it's done. Then yeah, we did wrap it to the try and catch with some exception handling. And then the first thing I did was to get the name of the image. Okay, then we saved the image to class storage. Then we got the download URL, assigned it to the image path variable. Then once we got that, I created my payload of all the data that I want to save, and then I added it to Firebase. Hooray, that's it successfully. So but before we can use this notifier provider, we need to register the provider first, right? So what I will do, I'll go to my main.dat. I think we need to actually do some modifications there. Since we'll be creating multiple providers, I'm going to be wrapping this stuff with a provider. Okay, that is a multi-provider. So I'll say multi-provider like so, and we're going to change this stuff now to providers. Okay, so we are going to have something like change notifier provider, and then we can have a contest. You can actually make it optional if you don't want, and then we can have the name of the provider. Okay, then you can import this stuff. Alright, so don't worry about the errors, it's going to be fixed in no time. So we're going to cut this, then put it outside here as a child, and paste it there. Okay, yep, we are good. Hooray! So you can save this up actually to register that, but I would advise you do a hot restart in your case. But that aside, what we can do next now is actually to add the wallpaper, that is to upload the wallpaper image now. Okay, so what we're going to do now is to go to the add page, add wallpaper page. Okay, so right here I'm going to wrap in this custom button with a consumer widget. Okay, so I'm going to wrap in it with a consumer. So but first thing we need to register the which is wallpaper. So that should be upload wallpaper provider, and then I'm going to wrap it with a consumer like so. Import that and remove the streams. So this one is going to be add yeah, like the name of the provider, and then the child. Remember, provider takes three stuffs. Okay, so what we can do now, I actually use more like a widget binding, okay, to show the message properly. So I think I will just do something like, okay, inside here now, I think if you watch my previous video you should know why I'm doing this. Okay, there was widget binding, because this is actually because consumer, I think it's listings every seconds. Okay, so we need to use widget binding so that we won't spoil the UI. Then we check if the message is not equal to empty string, then we can show any message at all. Okay, remember this alert show alerts page which we created. This is the show alerts that we have already created, so you can customize this your alert whichever way you want. So then the add.clear, because we need to avoid calling this stuff multiple times. I think mine was a clear message, right? Let's see what we used here, which is, okay, we set message. You can change it to clear. Okay, yep, let's just change it to clear like so. Awesome. Alright, so what is happening here now is to actually, this is a button. If you go to your upload page now, this is the button to upload. So what we can do now is just to make the request, right? Okay, so inside here, and I'm going to check first if this stuff is loading. So if it's loading, if it's equal to true, then we need to disable this button so that users cannot tap on it multiple times, right? So I'm going to use something like add.status is equal to true. Okay, then we can return null, else then the user will be able to tap on it. Okay, then we also need to do other few things as well. So the background color need to change as well. So if the user, let's say the add.status is equal to true, then we can say colors.gray, else colors.blue. all right, so that is it. Then inside here now, what we can do is just to say let's say first thing we want to do, remember the add wallpaper takes the UID, the price, and also the wallpaper image. Okay, so since the wallpaper image is actually since the price is optional, so we don't need to validate for that, right? The only thing we need to do first, let's say I'll need to get my UID first from Firebase auth. Remember, we already authenticated the user. Okay, we can get this from Firebase auth.instance, okay, dot current user, and then we can get the UID like so. Then I'm going to validate this now to be sure that is the image, which is this image. We need to be sure that it's not empty. Okay, so if image is not equal to an empty string, then we can go ahead and save the data to Firebase, right? But if it's not, then if it's an empty string, you can just show alerts, okay, to actually tell the user, hey, you need to add something, right? Image is required, upload image, something like that. Upload image, yeah, that should be good. And then once we get that, you can say add wallpaper. That is, I'm trying to call this method now, which is add wallpaper. Okay, and once I get the method, I can now say passing the wallpaper image, right? So the wallpaper image is actually a file. Remember, it's requesting a file. Okay, so we can say file, then you pass the image there, which is the image part, And then the UID, I've already gotten the UID, so I can just pass the UID as well. Then the price too. So the price is going to go make from controllers. So in case you have let's say first name or stuff like that, you can actually add them. But in this our case now is price dot this. Okay, so we're going to save this now. If you are wondering where the price is coming from, it's actually this is the test widget, and you can see the controller here. All right, so now what we can do now is just to save this. I will just do a hot restart actually instead of saving. So let's just wait for it. Okay, I think hot, did I do a hot restart? Let me see, I need to do a hot restart, sorry. Okay, so it's loading now, a few seconds, then we can click on upload. So for now this enterprise is actually optional, so for now we are not going to be entering any price. Okay, but I think I'm going to upload two images. One is going to have a price and the other one is not going to have a price, right? So if I click on this now, you can see the image is empty, so it's telling us upload image. Okay, so now let's upload an image. Let's upload one without let's upload this image now. Okay, this is like a wallpaper. You can see how it looks like a phone wallpaper, so we can click on this. So I'm not putting any price now, so if I click on it now, it's going to show gray. That means it's uploading image now. So let's just give it some time. You can see some activities that are going on under here. So some activities are going on, successful. All right, so now it has been uploaded. So how do we know if it has been uploaded? Let's go check our database ASAP. So I'll be checking the storage first. Okay, so I'm going to refresh this page. Okay, so you can see now the user ID, which is more like the way I actually structure it first. The user ID, if we click on it, we are going to see the wallpaper image. Okay, then the name of the image, which is actually the part. So if I click on it now, you should see the image now. Yeah, you can see the image, so you can actually open it in your web browser. So it's going to open. So this is the download URL we want to get that Firebase is going to give to us. Then we're going to save it to our storage, right, to our cloud Firestore. So this image has been added. So let's go back to our Firestore database to see if the image was actually, if the data was uploaded. You see the first collection, which is all wallpaper, and you can see the ID of the wallpaper, and then you can see the price, which is empty because we didn't add any price. You can see the user ID, and this is the image URL. So if you want to be sure now, let's just copy it. Okay, then open a new tab and paste it here. You're going to see that it's still going to be the same image as that one, right? So so far you guys have seen how to add image, how to upload image, how to pick image with your device, and also upload those images to Firebase database. Okay, so you can use this to actually create users profile. Yeah, it's going to be an amazing one. So just see what you guys can do with it. So I'm going to see you guys in the next video, but before we move, let me add this stuff to GitHub. So don't worry, this product, this source code is going to be available for you guys to play with, but you will have to create your own Firebase account. Okay, so so I'll just say pick image, let's say pick image and upload to Firebase completed. Okay, and then we can push it. Alright guys, I so much appreciate your time. Please don't forget to subscribe. Yeah, it's very important. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video.